Hyunwoo Kim walked through the long hallway of the Galactic Council building. His black suit felt heavy on his shoulders. Behind him, 3 other humans followed quietly. They all carried data pads and folders filled with papers. These papers contained everything humanity wanted to share with the galaxy. The hallway was huge. The ceiling went up so high that Hyunwoo could barely see the top. Strange lights floated in the air without any support. Alien beings moved past them, some flying, some walking on many legs, some floating like ghosts. None of them looked at the humans. It was like the humans were invisible. HFY Park adjusted her glasses and looked at her data pad one more time. She was the smartest scientist on Earth. The pad contained information about new medicines that could cure diseases no alien doctor had ever solved. She also had details about farming methods that could grow 3 times more food using half the water. Her hands shook a little as she held the device. Taemin Lee walked with straight shoulders like a soldier. He had spent 20 years in the Earth Space Force. His folder contained military technology that could help defend worlds from space pirates and hostile aliens. But more importantly, it contained peace treaties and defense agreements that could make the galaxy safer for everyone. So Young Han carried cultural data about human art, music, and stories. She believed that sharing culture could bring species together. Her files had thousands of human songs, paintings, and books translated into 47 different alien languages. She hoped today would be the day aliens finally understood what humans could offer. The 4 humans reached the main chamber doors. These doors were made of some kind of crystal that changed colors. Right now, they showed red and orange patterns. Hyunwoo had been told this meant the council was in an angry mood. He took a deep breath and pushed the doors open. The chamber inside was even bigger than the hallway. Hundreds of alien beings sat in floating chairs, arranged in circles around a central speaking area. Some aliens looked like giant insects with many eyes. Others appeared to be made of pure energy contained in glass boxes. Some had tentacles instead of arms, and others had scales that reflected the strange lights. At the highest point sat the most important council members. The Vorthak Prime Minister looked like a huge slug with eye stalks that moved independently. Next to him, the ethereal collective representative glowed with shifting colors inside a containment field. The hegemony chancellor appeared to be made of living metal that constantly reshaped itself. Hyunwoo stepped onto the central platform. A device scanned him and projected his voice throughout the chamber. "Honored council members," he began, "I am Ambassador Hyunwoo Kim, representing the planet Earth and all humanity. We come before you today with an offer of friendship and cooperation." Several aliens made sounds that the translation devices turned into laughter. The Vorthak Prime Minister's eye stalks turned toward Hyunwoo with obvious boredom. "Human," the creature said, "your species has been part of this galaxy for 50 Earth years. In that time, what have you contributed to galactic civilization?" HFY Park stepped forward. "Honorable Prime Minister, we have developed new medical treatments that have saved millions of lives across 12 different worlds. Our agricultural innovations now feed the populations of 6-star systems. Our engineering solutions have improved space travel efficiency by 30%. The ethereal collective representative pulsed with what seemed like annoyance. The translation device spoke in a cold, mechanical voice. "These claims are unverified. Your medical treatments are crude compared to ethereal healing methods. Your agriculture is wasteful and primitive. Your engineering is barely functional." Taemin. Lee felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "Respected council members, humans have also contributed to galactic security. Our patrol ships have stopped 47 pirate attacks in the outer systems this year alone. We have shared our defensive technologies freely with any species that requested them." The hegemony chancellor's metal form shifted into what might have been a dismissive gesture. "Your military technology is obsolete. Your ships are slow and weak. The only reason you have had any success against pirates is because pirates themselves are poorly equipped." So, Young Han tried next. "Council members, what about cultural exchange? We have shared our art, our music, our stories with dozens of species. We have learned your languages and customs. We believe that understanding between species can create lasting peace." This time, many aliens in the chamber made sounds that definitely translated as laughter. The Vorthak Prime Minister's eye stalks waved dismissively. Your culture is primitive and violent. Your stories are full of war and conflict. Your music is noise. Your art lacks the sophistication that civilized species appreciate. Hyun-woo felt his heart sinking, but he continued. Then let us discuss economic cooperation. Human traders have established profitable relationships with... Profitable for humans, interrupted the ethereal collective representative. You take resources from our worlds and give back inferior products. You are parasites feeding off the achievements of superior civilizations. The words hit like physical blows. Hyun-woo looked around the chamber and saw the same expression on every alien face he could read: contempt. These beings saw humans as nothing more than annoying insects. We propose expanded cooperation treaties, Hyun-woo said, his voice getting quieter. Shared research projects, joint exploration missions, cultural exchange programs. Enough, said the Vorthak Prime Minister. His voice was final. The Galactic Council has reached a decision regarding humanity. The chamber fell silent. Hundreds of alien eyes, sensors, and other perception organs focused on the platform where the four humans stood. Humanity will be confined to your home solar system, the Prime Minister announced. You will cease all expansion beyond the Sol system immediately. Any human vessels found outside your system will be destroyed without warning. All human colonies, research stations, and trading posts in galactic space will be evacuated within 6 standard months, Ji-Hai Park gasped. But that's our life's work out there. Our research stations, our colonies, are now forfeit, the ethereal collective representative said coldly. You may take your people and personal belongings. Everything else remains as payment for the resources you have wasted during your time in galactic space. Taemin Lee stepped forward, his soldier instincts taking over. This is unjust. We have broken no laws. We have harmed no one. We have only tried to help. The hegemony chancellor's form shifted into sharp, aggressive angles. Your existence in our space is harm enough. Your primitive presence pollutes the galactic community. You will leave, or you will be removed by force. The vote will now be taken, announced the Vorthak Prime Minister. All in favor of human confinement to the Sol system? Lights began appearing throughout the chamber. Red lights for yes votes, blue lights for no votes. Hyun-woo watched in horror as red light after red light appeared. The counting display showed the numbers climbing: 100 red, 200 red, 400 red. So Young-han started crying quietly. All her work on cultural exchange, all her hopes for understanding between species, was being destroyed in front of her eyes. The final count appeared on the main display. 847 votes for human confinement, 0 votes against. Humanity's own vote had not even been allowed. The decision is unanimous, the Prime Minister declared. Humans will evacuate all galactic territories within 6 months. Any attempt to resist or return will be met with immediate military action. This session is concluded. The 4 humans stood on the platform as aliens began filing out of the chamber. No one looked at them. No one spoke to them. They were already forgotten. Hyun-woo gathered his team and walked toward the exit. His legs felt weak, but he forced himself to stand straight. As they reached the doors, So Young-han whispered, "What do we do now?" Hyun-woo looked back at the chamber one last time. The lights were dimming, and the floating chairs were arranging themselves for the next session. In a few hours, these same aliens would be making decisions about trade routes and research projects and peace treaties. None of those decisions would include humans. "We go home," he said quietly. "We tell Earth what happened here. And then..." He paused, thinking about everything humanity had built among the stars, everything they were about to lose. "Then we show them what happens when they underestimate humans." The 4 humans walked back through the long hallway. This time, Hyun-woo noticed something he had missed before. The alien beings they passed looked comfortable, secure, and confident. They lived in a galaxy where everything worked perfectly, where every system functioned smoothly, where every need was met efficiently. They had no idea that humans were responsible for keeping much of that perfection running. They were about to find out. 6 months had passed since the Galactic Council's decision. Captain Do-hyun Choi stood in the control room of the research station orbiting Kepler 442b. Through the large windows, he could see the beautiful blue and green planet below. For 3 years, this world had been home to the most advanced human research facility outside the Sol system. "Captain, the last transport ship is ready for loading," reported Lieutenant Min Seo Park. She held a data pad showing the evacuation progress. "Dr. Yoon says her team needs 2 more hours to finish packing the quantum research equipment." Do-hyun nodded and walked to the communication station. "Dr. Yoon, this is the captain. How much more time do you need?" Dr. Yoon-ji Yoon's voice came through the speakers, tired but determined. "Captain, we're dealing with very sensitive equipment. Here. This quantum manipulation device took us 2 years to build. If we rush the packing, we might damage something that could take months to repair back on Earth." "I understand, Doctor, but we have our orders. The Galactic Council ships will arrive in 6 hours to take possession of this station. We need to be gone before then." There was a pause before Dr. Yoon responded. "Captain, do you realize what we're leaving behind? This research could have changed everything. We were on the edge of discovering how to manipulate space-time itself. We could have given the galaxy faster-than-light communication, instant transportation, unlimited clean energy." Do-hyun felt the weight of the decision on his shoulders. "Doctor, I know this is hard, but Earth Command was very clear. We take nothing that belongs to the station itself. We take only our personal belongings and research data." "Research data. That took 3 years to collect," Dr. Yoon said bitterly. "Research that could have benefited every species in the galaxy. And they're throwing it away because they think we're primitive." As Dr. Yoon spoke, Do-hyun looked around the control room. Every piece of equipment, every computer, every system had been designed and built by human engineers. The aliens who would take over this station had no idea how any of it worked. On Earth, Trade Coordinator Woo Jin Nam sat in his office looking at reports from across the galaxy. The numbers on his screens told a story that the Galactic Council didn't understand yet. Human involvement in galactic civilization was much deeper than anyone realized. Woo Jin's assistant, Da-un Lee, brought him another stack of reports. "Sir, we've completed the analysis of human economic involvement in galactic trade." "What are the numbers?" Woo Jin asked, though he already suspected they would be shocking. "Humans operate 23% of all interstellar shipping," Da-un read from her datapad. "We manage 34% of agricultural production for 12 star systems. We maintain 67% of communication networks in the Outer Rim territories. We also handle 41% of all energy distribution systems outside the core worlds." Woo Jin whistled softly. "And the Galactic Council thinks they can just replace all of that in 6 months? It gets worse, sir. Human-designed systems are integrated into everything. Even ships and stations built by other species use human navigation software, human communication protocols, and human safety systems. We've become the invisible foundation that holds galactic civilization together." Meanwhile, on the agricultural world of Vegan Prime, farm manager Kyung-soo Jung was overseeing the evacuation of the largest human farming operation in the galaxy. The facility covered an area the size of a small continent and produced food for over 12 billion beings across 4 different star systems. Manager Jang called his supervisor Hee-jin Cho. "The alien officials want to know if we're leaving the farming equipment behind." Kyung-soo looked across the vast fields where massive machines were harvesting the last crops under human management. "The equipment stays, but the programming doesn't. These machines are useless without the control software that tells them when to plant, when to harvest, how much water to use, which nutrients to add to the soil. Are we taking the software with us?" "Every line of code," Kyung-soo said firmly. "The hardware might look simple, but the software took us 15 years to develop. Without it, these machines are just expensive scrap metal." Hee-jin looked worried. "But sir, 12 billion beings depend on food from this facility. If the machines don't work, then maybe the Council should have thought about that before they decided we were worthless primitives." In the Outer Rim territories, communication engineer Yuri Kim was shutting down the relay stations that connected distant worlds to the galactic network. These stations looked simple from the outside, but their internal systems were incredibly complex. "Engineer Kim," her assistant Jong Ho-seo called out, "the local government officials are here. They want to know how to operate the relay stations after we leave." Yuri looked at the officials, a group of insectoid beings with multiple eyes and antennae that twitched nervously. "I can show you the basic controls," she said, "but the real complexity is in the software systems that manage data routing, error correction, and network optimization." The lead official made clicking sounds that translated as, "Surely it cannot be too difficult. We are an advanced technological species." "Of course," Yuri said politely. "This main console controls the basic functions. This screen shows network traffic. These buttons can restart individual relay nodes." The official examined the controls with confidence. This seems simple enough. What Yuri didn't mention was that the system required constant monitoring and adjustment. The software that managed data routing made thousands of decisions every second, optimizing signal paths based on network traffic, weather conditions, solar radiation, and dozens of other factors. Without that software, the relay stations would fail within days. Back on Earth, Director Haewon Jung of the Human Colonial Authority stood in the observation deck of the Orbital Command Center. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see human ships arriving from across the galaxy. Each ship carried evacuated colonists, researchers, traders, and engineers. "Director," reported Captain Namjoon Ko, "we've received confirmation from all evacuation sites. The last human ships have left galactic space and are returning to Sol system." "What about the hidden observation posts?" Haewon asked. "All personnel evacuated, but the automated monitoring systems remain active. The aliens don't know about them, and they'll continue to provide us with intelligence about what happens after we leave." Haewon nodded with satisfaction. "Good. Begin Phase 2 of the withdrawal plan." "Yes, ma'am. Should I activate the software shutdown protocols?" "Not yet. Let them try to run things on their own for a while. When they realize they need help, the shutdown will make their situation much worse." On the planet New Geneva, President Min-ho Kang addressed the Global Assembly. The huge auditorium was filled with representatives from every human colony, research station, and trading post that had been forced to evacuate. "Fellow humans," the president began, "today marks the end of one chapter in our history and the beginning of another. The Galactic Council has made their choice. They believe they can manage without us." Murmurs ran through the audience. Some people were angry, others were sad, but everyone was listening carefully. "They see us as primitive parasites," President Kang continued. "They think our technology is crude, our culture is worthless, and our presence is a pollution of their perfect civilization. They have 6 months to change their minds." "What if they don't?" called out someone from the audience. President Kang smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "Then they will learn what happens when you take away the foundation and expect the building to remain standing." In space near the edge of the Sol system, the last human ship crossed the invisible boundary that now marked humanity's prison. Captain Song-Mi Han of the transport vessel. New Horizon looked back toward the stars where humans had lived and worked for 50 years. "Captain," her communications officer reported, "we're receiving a message from Galactic Council Command. They're confirming that all human vessels have evacuated galactic space." "Any message for us?" Captain Han asked. "Just one word, ma'am. Good." Captain Han turned to her crew. "Set course for Earth. Maximum speed." As the New Horizon accelerated toward home, its sensors detected something interesting. Other ships from other species were already moving toward the abandoned human facilities. The aliens were eager to claim what humans had left behind. "They have no idea what they're taking," muttered Chief Engineer Dongmin Yu, who had spent 5 years maintaining the Quantum Research Station systems. "Those facilities will be completely useless within a month." "Why?" asked young Lieutenant Soo-Bin Kim. "Because they don't understand the difference between hardware and software, between machines and the intelligence that makes them work. They see our equipment and think that's all there is to it. They don't realize that human innovation isn't in the machines we build. It's in the knowledge of how to make those machines work together efficiently." Captain Han looked at the star charts showing the territory that humans could no longer enter. It was vast, covering hundreds of star systems and trillions of beings. All of it had been running smoothly with human help. All of it was about to discover what smooth operation really meant. "How long do you think it will take?" she asked her crew. "For what, Captain?" Lieutenant Kim asked. for them to realize their mistake. Chief Engine. 3 months had passed since the last human ship left galactic space. On the trading world of Centauri Prime, shipping magnate Bulvor stared at his profit reports with growing alarm. The numbers made no sense. Bulvor was a Centaurian, a species that looked like giant crabs with blue shells and 6 arms. His family had been in the shipping business for 300 years. They had always made steady profits by moving goods between star systems. But these new reports showed something impossible. Assistant Krelna, Bulvor called to his aide. These numbers must be wrong. Check them again. Krelna, a younger Centaurian with a smaller shell, looked at his datapad nervously. Sir, I have checked them 5 times. Shipping costs have increased by 340% since the humans left. That's impossible, Bulvor said, his voice rising. We have the same ships, the same routes, the same cargo. How can costs increase so much? Krelna's shell turned a pale blue color, which meant he was scared. Sir, it appears that the human shipping companies were handling the route optimization, cargo scheduling, and fuel efficiency calculations for most of our operations. So, we can do those things ourselves. We tried, sir, but without the human computer systems, it takes our best mathematicians 3 days to plan a route that human computers could plan in 3 minutes. And even then, our routes use 40% more fuel and take 60% longer. Bulvor felt his shell turning red with anger. What about the other shipping companies? Are they having the same problems? Yes, sir. The Vorthak Shipping Consortium is reporting even worse problems. They relied on humans for 70% of their logistics operations. Some of their ships are still lost in hyperspace because they can't calculate proper navigation routes. Meanwhile, on the agricultural world of Vegan Prime, Agricultural Minister Tethkal faced a crisis unlike anything in recent history. Tethkal belonged to a plant-like species that had been farming for thousands of years. But today, he was looking at reports of food shortages across 4 star systems. Minister, his chief agricultural scientist, Dr. Velnara, reported with obvious distress, the crop yields are down by 70%. The automatic farming systems are not working properly. Explain, Tethkal said, his leafy appendages rustling. With worry, the machines are running, but they're not making intelligent decisions. They're planting seeds at the wrong times, using too much water in some areas and too little in others, and applying fertilizers randomly instead of based on soil conditions. These are not complicated tasks, Tethkal said. Our ancestors farmed successfully for thousands of years before we had any machines. Dr. Velnara's green skin turned pale. Yes, Minister, but our ancestors farmed to feed millions of beings. We now need to feed 12 billion beings across 4 different worlds. Traditional farming methods cannot produce enough food. Then fix the machines. We have tried, Minister, but the control software is incredibly complex. It monitors weather patterns, soil chemistry, plant genetics, pest populations, market demands, and dozens of other factors. It makes thousands of decisions every hour. Our best engineers say it would take years to understand how the human software works, and even longer to replace it. The crisis was not limited to farming and shipping. In the Outer Rim territories, Defense Admiral Crixton received reports that made his metallic skin crawl with concern. Crixton was a member of the Hegemony, a species that looked like robots made of living metal. His people were known for their logical thinking and technological skills. Admiral, reported his communications officer, Technical Officer Yilnera, we have lost contact with 14 colonies in the Outer Rim. The communication relay systems have failed. Failed how? Crixton asked, his voice creating metallic harmonics. The hardware is still functioning, sir, but the signal routing and optimization software has crashed. Without it, the relay stations can only handle basic point-to-point communications. They cannot manage the complex network routing needed for long-distance messaging. Crixton's form shifted into aggressive angles. Surely our technicians can repair simple communication software. Yilnara's metallic surface dimmed with embarrassment. We thought so too, sir. Engineer Quindal of the Technical Collective has been working on the problem for 2 months. He has managed to restore basic functionality to one relay station, but it operates at only 8% of its original efficiency. 8%? Yes, sir. The human software was apparently much more sophisticated than we realized. It used advanced algorithms to predict network traffic, optimize signal paths in real time, and automatically reroute communications around damaged or busy stations. Engineer Quindal says it would take decades to recreate such complex systems. In another part of the galaxy, Dr. Felnara, a brilliant scientist from the Ethereal Collective, was struggling with her own problems. The Ethereal Collective were beings of pure energy who considered themselves the most advanced species in the galaxy. Dr. Felnara had been confident that she could easily improve on primitive human agricultural methods. Laboratory assistant. More Thun, Dr. Felnara called, her energy patterns showing frustration. What are the results of our latest farming experiments? More Thun, a younger ethereal whose energy field flickered nervously, delivered the disappointing news. Dr. Felnara, our most successful crop yield is 30% of what the humans achieved. Additionally, our methods require 4 times as much water and energy. That cannot be correct. Human methods were crude and wasteful. I thought so. Too, Dr. Felnara. But the data is clear. The humans somehow managed to create incredibly efficient farming systems that we do not understand. Their plants grew faster, required fewer resources, and produced more food than should be scientifically possible. Dr. Felnara pulsed with angry energy. Then we will discover their secrets and improve upon them. We have been trying, Dr. Felnara, but every time we think we understand one aspect of their methods, we discover 10 more complications. Their farming was not just about plants and soil. It was about complex relationships between genetics, chemistry, biology, weather, and even economics. It was like they saw the entire system as one living organism. Back on Earth, economic analyst Sora Kim presented her weekly reports to the Human Council. The Earth Council chamber was much smaller than the Galactic Council chamber, but it felt warmer and more welcoming. Humans preferred to sit close together when making important decisions. Council members, Sora said, our monitoring stations are reporting exactly what we predicted. Galactic trade volume has decreased by 43%. Food production is down by 67% in the systems that relied on our agricultural methods. Communication networks are experiencing massive failures. Council Chairman Jin-Woo Park leaned forward in his chair. What about their attempts to replace our systems? Minimal success, Sora replied. The Centaurian shipping companies have managed to restore basic operations, but their efficiency is terrible. The Vorthak Consortium is still losing ships in hyperspace. 3 of their cargo vessels disappeared last week because they miscalculated their jump coordinates. And the communication networks? The technical collective claims they have solved the problem, but our monitoring shows that their solution works at less than 10% efficiency. Messages that used to take minutes to cross the galaxy now take hours or days. Some outer rim colonies have been completely cut off from the galactic network. Admiral Jin Seok Park, Sora's brother and the head of Earth's military forces, added his own observations. We're also detecting increased civil unrest on 14 worlds. Without reliable communication and supply lines, some planets are starting to panic. 3 trade wars have broken out as colonies compete for limited resources. Any military action against human space? Chairman Jin-Woo asked. None, Admiral Jin Seok replied. They're too busy dealing with internal problems to worry about us. Besides, they're starting to realize that attacking us would only make their situation worse. President Min-ho Kang, who had been listening quietly, finally spoke. How long before complete system failure? Sora checked her calculations. At the current rate of deterioration, we estimate 6 months for major infrastructure collapse, 1 year for widespread social unrest, and 18 months for possible civilization breakdown in the outer territories. And we haven't fired a single shot, President Kang said with satisfaction. No human soldiers have died. No human ships have been lost. No human colonies have been attacked. We simply stopped helping them, and their entire civilization is falling apart. In the Galactic Council chambers, emergency sessions were being held daily. The beautiful crystal chambers now felt cold and unwelcoming as representatives dealt with crisis after crisis. Order! Order! Called Prime Minister Vorthak, his eye stalks drooping with exhaustion. Representative Crixton has the floor. Admiral Crixton's metallic form was no longer shining. His surface was dull and scratched from stress. Honored Council, the communication crisis in the Outer Rim is getting worse. We have lost all contact with 6 colonies. We suspect they may be under attack by pirates. But we cannot verify this because our communication systems are not working. What about the Krillian Empire? Asked Chancellor Vextar of the Hegemony. Are they taking advantage of our communication problems? 8 months after humanity's departure from galactic space, Chancellor Vextar paced in his private chambers on the Hegemony capital world. His metallic form, usually gleaming and perfectly shaped, now appeared dull and constantly shifting between different configurations. This was a sign of extreme stress among his people. Assistant Prime Nalthor, Vextar called to his aide, give me the latest reports from all sectors. Nalthor, a younger member of the Hegemony whose metal surface flickered with nervous energy, approached with several data crystals. Chancellor, the reports are disturbing. How disturbing? 3 outer rim star systems have declared independence. From the Galactic Council, the Vorthak Consortium has lost 78% of its trade revenue. The Ethereal Collective's energy distribution network is operating at only 23% capacity. Food riots have broken out on 17 worlds. Vextar's form twisted into sharp, angry angles. And the Krillian Empire? They are moving aggressively into our former territories, Chancellor. Without proper communication and defense coordination, we cannot respond effectively to their expansion. Meanwhile, in the emergency session of the Galactic Council, Prime Minister Vorthak addressed a chamber that was only half full. Many representatives could not attend because their communication systems had failed or their transportation networks had collapsed. Fellow council members, Vorthak began, his multiple eye stalks moving independently as he tried to focus on the scattered representatives. We face an unprecedented crisis. The departure of the humans has created unexpected complications. Ambassador Rixara of the Federated Worlds stood up, her crystalline body reflecting the chamber's lights in fractured patterns. Unexpected? Chancellor, with respect, some of us warned that expelling the humans might have consequences. No one could have predicted the scope of these problems, Vorthak replied defensively. Couldn't we? Rixara shot back. The humans were involved in our shipping, our communications, our food production, our energy systems. We threw them out and acted surprised when those systems started failing. Admiral Crixton's metallic voice echoed through the chamber. The immediate question is what we do now. The Krillian Empire has taken control of 4 systems that we can no longer defend. Our military forces cannot coordinate properly without working communication networks. How long before we can repair these systems ourselves? Asked Dr. Thexvary of the Inner Worlds Alliance. Engineer Quindal of the Technical Collective, looking exhausted, provided the grim answer. Based on our current progress, we estimate 15 to 20 years to fully replace human-designed systems. However, that assumes we can prevent further deterioration while we work. 15 years? Vorthak's eye stalks drooped in shock. Our civilization cannot survive 15 years of this chaos. There is another option, said Ambassador Rixara quietly. The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew what she was about to suggest, but no one wanted to hear it. We could approach the humans, she continued. Perhaps offer them certain incentives to return and help restore our systems. Absolutely not, declared Representative Morgul of the Supremacy Coalition. We are the superior species. We do not crawl back to primitives begging for help. Superior. Species who cannot keep the lights on without primitive help, Rixara replied sharply. Back on Earth, Intelligence Director Yejin Choi sat in her monitoring station, watching galactic communications through humanity's hidden observation networks. These secret stations, left behind during the evacuation, provided Earth with detailed intelligence about the growing crisis. Director, reported her assistant, monitoring specialist Jae Sung Lim, we're intercepting increased emergency communications from all major galactic powers. Their situation is deteriorating faster than our most optimistic projections. Show me the details, Yejin said. Jae Sung activated the main display screen. The Vorthak Consortium has filed for bankruptcy. They've lost so many ships to navigation, failures that they can't afford to continue operations. The Ethereal Collective's energy network suffered a cascade failure yesterday that left 12 worlds without power for 6 hours. What about civil unrest? Increasing dramatically. The Outer Rim territories are essentially in revolt. 3 systems have declared independence, and 4 more are considering it. The Galactic Council can't even communicate effectively with these regions, let alone control them. Yejin smiled coldly. And military threats to human space? None. They're too busy fighting internal rebellions and dealing with Krillian expansion. In fact, our analysis suggests they couldn't mount an effective military campaign even if they wanted to. Their fleet coordination systems were heavily dependent on human-designed communication networks. In his office, strategic advisor Changmin Seo was analyzing the psychological aspects of the galactic crisis. Changmin had studied alien civilizations for 20 years and understood how their minds worked. President Kang, Changmin reported, during their weekly meeting, the aliens are experiencing something they've never faced before, systematic failure of their technological infrastructure. Explain, President Min Ho Kong said. These civilizations have been stable for thousands of years. They've never experienced rapid, widespread system failures. They don't know how to respond to cascading problems. Humans are used to dealing with crises and adapting quickly, but these aliens are paralyzed by uncertainty. How are they psychologically handling the realization that they need us? Changmin consulted his notes. Very poorly. Their entire self-image is based on being superior to humans. Admitting they need our help means admitting their superiority is an illusion. Some are going into denial, others are experiencing what we might call collective depression. President Kong leaned back in his chair. Perfect. The longer they delay asking for help, the worse their situation becomes. Meanwhile, on the agricultural world of Vegan Prime, Minister Tethkal faced the worst crisis in his planet's history. The farming systems had completely collapsed, and food shortages were becoming critical. Minister, reported Emergency Coordinator Solna, we have riots in 3 major cities. The population is demanding food, but our production is down to 15% of normal levels. What about importing food from other worlds? That's the problem, Minister. The shipping networks have collapsed. Even if other worlds had surplus food, they couldn't deliver it to us reliably. 2 food shipments have been lost in hyperspace this week due to navigation errors. Tethkal's leafy appendages rustled with desperation. Contact the human homeworld. Offer to pay them for food shipments. Minister, humans are restricted from leaving their solar system. The Galactic Council is useless, Tethkal interrupted. They've created this crisis, and now they can't solve it. Contact the humans directly. Tell them we'll pay any price for food. But when Sulna tried to contact Earth, she discovered another problem. The communication networks were so degraded that sending a message to the Sol system would take weeks, and there was no guarantee it would arrive at all. In the Outer Rim territories, colonial governor Vulneth watched his civilization crumble in real time. Without reliable communication with the galactic core, his colonies were cut off from trade, military support, and essential supplies. Governor, his security chief, Commander Ralthor, reported grimly, 3 more colonies have declared independence today. They're saying that if the Galactic Council cannot provide basic services like communication and transportation, they'll govern themselves. Can we stop them? With what? Our patrol ships can't navigate reliably without the human-designed systems. Yesterday, 2 of our vessels got lost trying to travel between colonies in the same star system. They're currently stranded in space waiting for rescue. Vulneth looked at the communication display that should have shown dozens of colony worlds, under his authority. Instead, half the displays showed error messages or no signal at all. Commander, prepare an emergency message to the Galactic Council. Tell them that if they don't restore communication and transportation systems within 30 days, the entire Outer Rim will be in open revolt. Sir, it will take 30 days just to get the message to the Galactic Core with our current communication. Problems. Meanwhile, the Krillian Empire was taking full advantage of the galactic chaos. Emperor Krylix reviewed expansion reports with great satisfaction. General Morka, the Emperor said, how many former Council worlds have we conquered? This month? 7, my Emperor. The Council forces cannot coordinate their defenses. Their ships arrive too late, their communications are unreliable, and their supply lines are broken. It's like fighting an enemy that has been blinded and crippled. Excellent. Continue the expansion. Take as many worlds as possible before they manage to fix their problems. Yes, my Emperor. Our intelligence suggests that their problems are not temporary. They may never recover their former efficiency without the humans. Humans? Emperor Cryelix had heard rumors about the species that had been expelled from galactic space. Those primitives caused all this? Apparently, my emperor. The humans were responsible for maintaining much of the Council's technological infrastructure. When they left, everything began falling apart. Emperor Cryelix laughed, a sound like grinding metal. So the mighty Galactic Council expelled the very people key. 14 months after humanity's forced withdrawal, Ambassador Hyunwoo Kim received an encrypted message that made him smile for the first time in over a year. The message was simple but carried enormous weight. Galactic Council formally requests immediate audience with human representatives regarding matters of mutual galactic stability. Hyunwoo sat in his office on the Earth orbital station, looking out at the blue planet below. Behind him, his team was already preparing for what might be the most important diplomatic meeting in human history. "Ambassador," said his assistant, diplomatic aide Subin Kang. The message came through the emergency diplomatic channel. They used the highest priority codes available. "How desperate do you think they are?" asked Dr. Ji-Hai Park, who had spent the last year analyzing the galactic crisis from Earth. "Extremely," Hyunwoo replied. "Based on our intelligence reports, their civilization is collapsing. Trade down by 89%, communication networks failing everywhere, food riots on dozens of worlds, and they've lost 4 star systems to the Krillian Empire." Tae-min Lee, now promoted to defense minister, added his analysis. "Our military intelligence suggests they couldn't launch an attack on us even if they wanted to. Their fleet coordination systems have completely broken down. 3 of their war fleets got lost in hyperspace last month trying to respond to Krillian attacks." Cultural attaché So Young-han, who had cried during humanity's original rejection, now showed a different emotion, cold satisfaction. "Do we make them wait? Make them beg?" Hyunwoo considered this. "No. We respond immediately, but on our terms. We'll meet with them, but the meeting happens here, in Sol space. If they want our help, they come to us." The response was sent within hours. Humanity agrees to diplomatic discussions. Meeting to be held at Earth Orbital Station in 3 days. Galactic Council delegation limited to 5 representatives. On the Galactic Council capital world, Prime Minister Vorthak read the human response with a mixture of relief and humiliation. The mighty Galactic Council, which ruled over 800 star systems, was being summoned to a meeting in a primitive solar system they had declared off-limits. "Prime Minister," said his aide, Assistant Krelta, "shall I prepare our usual diplomatic vessel?" "No," Vorthak replied heavily. "Take our fastest ship, and prepare an emergency diplomatic fund. I have a feeling the humans will not offer their help for free." 3 days later, the human delegation watched as a sleek alien vessel approached. Earth Orbital Station. The ship was beautiful, covered in crystalline panels that reflected the light from Earth's sun. But it was also alone, a single ship instead of the massive diplomatic fleet that usually accompanied Galactic Council representatives. Ambassador Hyunwoo Kim stood in the docking bay with his team, wearing simple black suits that contrasted sharply with the elaborate robes and environmental suits of the arriving aliens. Prime Minister Vorthak led the alien delegation, his multiple eye stalks moving nervously. Behind him came Chancellor Vextar, his metallic form dulled by stress. Ambassador Rixara with her crystalline body reflecting fractured light, Admiral Crixton looking less impressive than before, and Dr. Thexvari, whose energy field flickered. Weakly, "Prime Minister Vorthak," Hyunwoo said formally, "welcome to Earth space." "Ambassador Kim," Vorthak replied, his translator making his voice sound tired. "We appreciate your willingness to meet with us." The 2 groups walked to the conference room in awkward silence. The room was simple and functional, very different from the magnificent chambers where their first meeting had taken place. Earth furniture, human lighting, human air. Everything designed for human comfort, with the aliens forced to adapt. When everyone was seated, Hyunwoo began. "Prime Minister, your message mentioned matters of mutual galactic stability. Please, explain what you mean by that." Vorthak's eye stalks drooped with embarrassment. "Ambassador Kim, the Galactic Council is experiencing certain technical difficulties with our infrastructure systems." "Technical difficulties?" Dr. G. High Park asked innocently. What kind of technical difficulties? Chancellor Vextar's metallic form shifted uncomfortably. Our shipping networks have experienced efficiency reductions. Our communication systems require optimization. Some of our agricultural worlds are facing production challenges. Taemin Lee leaned forward. Could you be more specific about these efficiency reductions and production challenges? The aliens exchanged glances. None of them wanted to admit the full scope of their failures. Ambassador Rixara finally spoke. Our shipping networks are operating at 11% efficiency. Our communication systems have failed across 60% of galactic space. Agricultural production has dropped by 75% on worlds that previously relied on certain methodologies. Certain methodologies, So Young Han asked. You mean human farming techniques? Admiral Crixton's voice was barely audible. Yes. And your communication systems used human-designed software? Yes. And your shipping networks relied on human logistics planning? Yes. Hyun-woo sat back in his chair. So let me understand this correctly. 14 months ago, you expelled humanity from galactic space because we were primitive parasites who contributed nothing of value. Now you're here asking for our help because your civilization is collapsing without us. The silence in the room was deafening. The alien representatives stared at their hands, tentacles, or energy fields, unable to meet human eyes. What exactly are you asking for? Hyun-woo continued. Prime Minister Vorthak forced himself to speak. The Galactic Council formally requests humanity's technical assistance in restoring stability to galactic infrastructure systems. Technical assistance, Hyun-woo repeated slowly. Are you offering to pay for this assistance? We are prepared to discuss reasonable compensation, Chancellor Vextar said carefully. Dr. Ji-Hai Park consulted her datapad. Our preliminary analysis indicates that full restoration would require a minimum of 7 years, assuming immediate resumption of all human operations across galactic space. That's 7 years of work by our best engineers, scientists, and logistics specialists. However, Taemin Lee added, given the trust that was broken and the hostile manner of our previous departure, we would require certain guarantees. What kind of guarantees? Ambassador Rixara asked nervously. Hyun-woo stood up and activated a holographic display showing the terms humanity had prepared. First, formal recognition by the Galactic Council that human technology and methods are superior to alien alternatives in logistics, agriculture, and communications. The aliens winced at the word superior, but nodded reluctantly. Second, permanent human representation on all major council committees, with veto power over any decisions affecting human interests. Veto power? Prime Minister Vorthak's eye stalks writhed with distress. You expelled us once, So Young Han said coldly. We won't allow that to happen again. Third, Hyun-woo continued, financial reparations for the economic losses incurred during our forced withdrawal. Our calculations show 3 trillion galactic credits in lost revenue, damaged equipment, and evacuation costs. Chancellor Vextar's metallic form turned dark with shock. 3 trillion credits? That's more than the annual GDP of most star systems. Fourth, Taemin Lee said, exclusive human control over all critical infrastructure systems. Your species will not be given access to the source code, design specifications, or operational parameters of human technology. You want us to become dependent on you, Admiral Crixton said bitterly. You already are dependent on us, Dr. Ji-Hai Park replied. The only question is whether you'll admit it officially. And fifth, Hyun-woo concluded, a formal public apology, galactic-wide broadcast. Prime Minister Vorthak will personally apologize to humanity for the unjust expulsion and acknowledge that the Galactic Council was wrong to underestimate human contributions to galactic civilization. The alien delegation sat in stunned silence. These terms were not just demanding, they were humiliating. Everything they had believed about their superiority over humans was being systematically destroyed. These terms are, Ambassador Rixara began. Non-negotiable, Hyun-woo said firmly. You came here asking for our help. These are our conditions for providing it. Prime Minister Vorthak's eye stalks drooped until they nearly touched the table. How long do we have to consider these terms? "24 hours, Taemin Lee replied. "After that, the offer expires and we resume our isolation." Chancellor Vextar made a sound that the translator couldn't interpret. "But every day we delay, more systems fail. More worlds fall into chaos. The Krillian Empire continues expanding into our territory." "Then I suggest you consider quickly," So Young Han said without sympathy. As the alien delegation filed out of the conference room, Admiral Crixton turned back. "Ambassador Kim, what happens if we refuse these terms?" Hyunwoo looked at the alien with genuine curiosity. "Admiral, 14 months ago you told us that our presence in galactic space was pollution. You said we were primitive parasites who contributed nothing of value. You voted unanimously to expel us. Yes. Now your civilization is collapsing without us. Your people are rioting, your enemies are conquering your territory, and your infrastructure is falling apart. If you refuse our terms, you get exactly what you asked for 14 months ago. A galaxy without human involvement. Admiral Crix." 2 years had passed since humanity's triumphant return to galactic affairs. President Minho Kang stood in his office at the top of the Human Embassy building on Galactic Central, the capital world of the former Galactic Council. Through the massive windows he could see the sprawling city below, and in the distance, the impressive spire of the Human Embassy rose higher than any other building on the planet. The building itself was a symbol of how much had changed. 2 years ago, humans had been expelled from galactic space as worthless primitives. Now, the Human Embassy was the most important building on the most important world in the galaxy. Every major decision affecting galactic civilization was made here, and none could be made without human approval. "Mr. President," said his assistant, Chief of Staff, Yu Jin Song, "Economic Director Sora Kim is here with the quarterly reports." "Send her in." Sora Kim entered the office carrying several data pads. She looked confident and satisfied, very different from the woman who had watched humanity's humiliation 2 years ago. "Mr. President, I'm pleased to report that galactic trade has reached 112% of pre-crisis levels," Sora began. "However, 78% of all logistics operations are now explicitly controlled by human companies, and our profit margins." "Excellent, sir. We're charging premium rates for our services, and every species in the galaxy is happy to pay them. They remember what happened when they tried to operate without us." President Kang smiled. "What about the reparations payments?" "The final payment of 3 trillion credits was received last month. The Galactic Council has officially finished paying for their mistake." Admiral Jin Seok Park, now the head of Galactic Military Coordination, joined the meeting to provide his security briefing. "Mr. President, 7 former Council worlds have requested to join the Human Protection Alliance. They want our military protection and are willing to pay handsomely for it." "What about the Krillian Empire? They've offered us a non-aggression, pact and exclusive trading rights in their territory. Apparently, they remember what happened to the last group that tried to exclude humans from galactic affairs." Economic Director Sora added, "The Krillians have actually become one of our best customers. They're paying us to upgrade their communication and logistics systems. They want to make sure they never experience the kind of collapse that hit the Council." President Kang walked to the window and looked down at the city. In the central plaza, a massive holographic display showed shipping routes, trade volumes, and communication traffic across the galaxy. All of it was managed by human systems, controlled by human operators and protected by human security protocols. "Tell me about the Council's current situation," he asked. Cultural Attaché. So Young Han, who had joined the meeting, consulted her notes. The former Galactic Council has been restructured as the Galactic Cooperation Assembly. They have much less power than before. Most of their authority has been transferred to specialized committees where humans hold permanent seats with veto power. "And their attitude toward us?" "Completely changed," So Young replied with satisfaction. "They call the period of our absence the Silent Year, and it's taught in schools as a cautionary tale. Children across the galaxy learn about the importance of recognizing and respecting the contributions of all species." Admiral Jin Seok laughed. "I've seen some of those textbooks. They describe humanity as the species that held galactic civilization together through invisible threads. And when those threads were cut, everything fell apart." Meanwhile, in the offices of the Galactic Cooperation Assembly, former Prime Minister Vorthak, now simply called Representative Vorthak, was meeting with his staff. His office was much smaller than his previous chambers, and the view was not as impressive, but he was grateful to have any position at all. Representative, his aide Krelta reported, the human embassy has approved our request to establish new trade routes in the Outer Rim territories. What conditions did they impose? All shipping must use human logistics systems, all communication must go through human relay networks, and all conflicts must be mediated by human arbitrators. Vorthak's eye stalks drooped with resignation. Any conditions we couldn't accept would mean our trade routes would fail anyway. The humans have become indispensable. Sir, do you ever regret the decision to expel them? Vorthak considered the question carefully. Regret is too small a word, Krelta. What we did was the greatest mistake in galactic history. We took the species that was holding our civilization together and threw them away because our pride couldn't accept that primitives might be better at something than we were. On the agricultural world of Vegan Prime, Minister Tethkal was overseeing the most productive farming season in his planet's history. The human agricultural specialists had not only restored the previous production levels, but had actually improved them by 30%. Minister, reported his supervisor, Dr. Velnara, the latest crop yields are extraordinary. We're now producing enough food to feed 15 billion beings instead of the 12 billion we managed before the crisis. How did the humans improve on their own previous methods? Apparently, they spent the 2 years of isolation developing new techniques. They used the time we forced on them to become even better at what they do. Tehakal looked across the vast fields where human-designed machines worked with perfect efficiency. So our attempt to get rid of them actually made them more valuable? Yes, Minister. And now we're paying 3 times what we used to pay for their services. In the Outer Rim territories, Colonial Governor Vulneth, now called Regional Coordinator, Vulneth, under the new human-dominated system, was managing territories that were more stable and prosperous than they had ever been under the old council system. Coordinator, his security chief Ralthor reported, crime in our region has dropped to the lowest levels in recorded history. The human-managed communication and transportation systems are so efficient that we can respond to problems before they become serious. What about independence movements? Gone completely. The worlds that declared independence during the crisis have all requested to rejoin the galactic community under human protection. They've seen how well our regions function compared to the chaos in unprotected areas. Back on Earth, Ambassador Hyunwoo Kim was preparing for the monthly meeting of the Galactic Cooperation Assembly. These meetings were very different from the old council sessions. Instead of aliens dismissing human contributions, they now competed to propose new ways to integrate human expertise into their operations. Ambassador, his assistant Subin Kang reported, we have 17 requests for new human services this month. The Ethereal Collective wants us to design new energy distribution systems. The Technical Collective is asking for help with manufacturing optimization. The Vorthak Consortium wants to hire human managers for all their shipping operations. What's our response? We'll consider all requests, but at premium rates. Our time and expertise are valuable. Dr. Ji Hai Park, now director of the Galactic Research Consortium, had perhaps made the most remarkable transformation. Her research facilities were now the most advanced in the galaxy, funded by species that were eager to learn from human innovation. Ambassador, she reported, our latest research projects include faster-than-light communication, instantaneous matter transportation, and unlimited clean energy generation. 12 different species are funding these projects and have agreed to pay licensing fees for any technologies we develop. How different is this from our situation 2 years ago? 2 years ago, I was begging aliens to let me share my research for free, and they told me it was worthless. Now, they're paying billions of credits just for the possibility that my research might benefit them. In the heart of the galaxy, Trade Coordinator Wu Jin Nam managed a vast network of human operations that spanned over 200 star systems. His office walls displayed real-time information about shipping routes, cargo flows, communication traffic, and energy distribution across the galaxy. Coordinator, his assistant Da Yun Lee reported, we're now handling 86% of all galactic trade operations. Every major shipping company, communication network, and agricultural facility is either human-owned or human-managed. What about competition from alien companies? Minimal. They've learned that trying to compete with human systems usually leads to failure and bankruptcy. Most alien companies now prefer to hire us as consultants rather than try to do things themselves. Wu Jin looked at the galaxy-wide display showing thousands of trade routes, all flowing smoothly under human management. Do you remember what they said about us 2 years ago? That we were primitive parasites who contributed nothing? I remember, sir. Now they say that human management is the gold standard for efficiency and reliability. As evening fell on Galactic Central, President Minho Kang hosted a dinner for the senior human staff. The dining room overlooked the city, where millions of beings from hundreds of species went about their daily lives, all of them dependent on human-designed and human-managed systems. Friends, President Kang said, raising his glass. 2 years ago, we were told to leave galactic space because we were worthless. Today, galactic civilization cannot function without us. We've gone from being rejected to being irreplaceable. What's the most satisfying?